Hey, Cutco crew, Vector family, it's Hal Elrod, and I am coming to you from my home in Austin, Texas today. I hope you're doing really well. I'm pumped. I'm excited to chat with you because we're related, even though you don't realize that. We are Cutco family. We're like distant cousins that maybe never met, but you know that they exist, like in another state far away. But regardless, what I want to do today is I want to share with you my Vector experience and my greatest strategies to help you succeed. I believe that all of you are coming off of Summer Conference 1. For many of you, that was your first push period, maybe your first conference for Cutco ever. And for me, I sold Cutco from age 19 till 25. So for 6 years of my life, 6 of the best years of my life, honestly, I sold Cutco and I worked with Vector. And who I am today and where I am today, where being in terms of the life that I've created for myself, is like 90% attributed to Vector Marketing and Cutco and the leadership and the opportunity that you have in front of you right now. And I did not realize when I was sitting in the seat that you're sitting in right now, you might be at home, but when I was at the point in my Cutco career, when I was new, I had no idea what the Vector opportunity was really about. I thought it was about selling knives and making money. I thought I started a job. I thought it was just a job, and that I wanted to make some money for the summer and then go back to school and go on my way. And I didn't know that I would sell Cutco beyond that. And what I realized is that the Vector opportunity is your training for success in life. The money you make, that gets spent. The trophies that you win, right? Those get dusty. The recognition that you gain, that's fun. But who you are becoming right now will set the direction for the rest of your life. And today I'm going to share with you my Vector experience, kind of my Cutco story, if you will. And maybe more importantly, I'm going to give you what I believe are the not so obvious secrets to Cutco success. How you can take your success to the next level no matter where you are right now. So if you just came off push period, you're in one of two camps. Either you had a great push period and things went, as well as planned or better than you planned, and you feel really good. You've got this momentum because your push period went so well. But then there's the other camp, which is you didn't have the push period that you wanted, and maybe you're feeling even a little discouraged or even a little unsure. Maybe there's seeds of self-doubt were planted because things didn't go as well as you wanted them to. Well, whichever camp that you're in, again, today I'm going to teach you how you can go from wherever you are right now to achieving levels of success in Cutco and Vector that at this point you may not even believe are possible. You may not even realize are possible. And then I want to talk to you about really the Vector opportunity and how to make the most of this opportunity so that not only do you make a good amount of money from it, because that's important, right? That's why you, I'm sure, took the job. That's why I took the Vector, the job selling Cutco as well. But how do you turn the Vector opportunity into the greatest opportunity that you've ever had in your life, as I was blessed that it became for me? So I'll take you back a little bit. When I started selling Cutco, I was 19 years old. I had just finished my first year of college. I was actually a DJ on the radio, DJ Yo Pal Hal. That was my DJ name. And I gave up my dream job on the radio to try selling Cutco cutlery, to try selling Cutco knives. A buddy of mine was a rep, and he brought me into the office and said, Hal, you should give this a try. I interviewed. I was really intrigued. I loved the opportunity that I saw in front of me. I liked the opportunity to, have no ceiling on my income. Like I can kind of make as much money as I wanted to, set my own hours. I liked all those different aspects that you probably were attracted to as well. And so I gave up the dream job on the radio to start selling Cutco. And it didn't start out the way I planned. I went out there to break the fast start record. That was my goal in my first 10 days. I had never done anything in my life that was really worthwhile. Like I wasn't a straight A student. I was a C student. I wasn't an athlete in high school. I wasn't popular. Like I had never really excelled at anything in my life. And I thought, this is my opportunity. Like I'm going to go for it. And so I went to my manager on day 2 of training and I go, hey, I want to break the fast start record, which at that time was $12,000 in our region. And I thought he was going to be excited for me. And he kind of pushed back and he goes, Hal, I always hear that. Nobody ever actually is willing to work as hard as it takes. And I was kind of taken aback. I thought he was going to be more pumped up for me to say that I was going to break the record, but he knew that I was all talk at that point. He said, if you're willing to commit and give it everything you have, I believe you can do it. And so I said, I'll do it. I don't know how, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, but you tell me what to do and I'll do it. And he said, schedule, as many appointments as you possibly can, at least 20 tonight, which the first night I scheduled 20 appointments. And I went out my first day and I was so excited. I scheduled appointments with my best customers and I sold $0. I had 3 appointments scheduled with my grandparents, with a family friend, and then another really close colleague of my mom's who had lots of money. I thought for sure I would have a grand day minimum, and I sold $0. I went 0 for 3, and I was ready to quit. I called my manager and I said, "Hey, I'm really embarrassed. I know I said I was going to break this record, but I don't think I'm going to. I think I was talking a little bit bigger than I'm prepared to actually follow through on." And he said, "Hal, there's one of 2 ways that you can respond." And I'm sharing this story with you, by the way, right now, because this, for you, is going to be an ongoing decision that you're going to have to make, which is how you respond. In life, there's only one thing we can control. We can't control most of the things that happen. We can control how we respond to what happens, how we respond to the things that are out of our control, right? So for me, I had 0 sales that first day, and I felt discouraged. I felt like a failure, and I wanted to give up, right? I can't control the fact that nobody bought that day. That's in the past at that point. And what my manager taught me is he said, "Hal, there's one of 2 ways you can respond. You could give in to the feelings of discouragement that you have right now, and you could just give up and you could quit. You could never sell Cutco, never do another demo again." And I'm on the phone with him going, "Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. What's option number 2? And he said, "Do you want to be successful in life, Hal?" I said, "Yeah, of course." He said, "Okay, do you think that when you are attempting to be successful in any area of life, in business and in a career, that everything goes perfectly? Or do you think that there's challenges, there's setbacks, things you have to overcome?" And I said, "Well, no, yeah, there's probably challenges and setbacks and things that you have to overcome." He said, "Okay, well, if you want to be successful in life, then you have to treat Cutco as life. How you respond within your Cutco experience," he said, "will determine who you become, and therefore how you respond in every other challenge or opportunity that you're faced with for the rest of your life." He said, "So if you want to be successful in life and you want to be successful in Cutco, do what a successful person would do. They wouldn't quit. They wouldn't give up. They would get on the phone. They'd make more phone calls, and they'd schedule even more appointments for tomorrow. And they'd realize that, hey, today was a bad day, and tomorrow might be a better day." And he goes, "But that's not promised. Tomorrow, who knows? Might not be a great day either, right? But if you continue to implement the vector approach that we learned in training," he said, "it's proven. It works. If you see the right customers and you follow the manual," he said, "your success is inevitable. It's only a matter of time. There will be good days and bad days." He said, "But as long as you respond to the bad days by being more proactive and more excited and working even harder," he said, "you'll create more good days." I was like, all right, I guess you're right. I got on the phone. I scheduled 10 appointments for the next day. 10 appointments. I had 7 sales, and I sold $2,600 and something dollars, and I was on my way. And fast forward, the fast start, right? First of all, let me not fast forward. Let me keep us there. That day, I realized, wow, if I would have given up yesterday, if I would have given up when things weren't going well, I would have robbed myself of the opportunity to create this success and sell over $2,000 in one day, my second day on the job. Well, fast forward through the fast start, and in 10 days, I did 62 sales presentations. I did 62 demos. I sold on 42 of them. So I didn't even have a good closing percentage. It was like 67%. It wasn't anything special. And I sold $15,000 in my fast start. So the lesson that I learned is that, well, there were a lot of lessons, but one of them is that when you commit, there is always a way. There is always a way when you're committed. And again, if you follow the vector strategy, the vector approach, you follow the manual, you see the right customers, you let your manager guide you and lead you and hold you accountable. When you follow the system that's been working to sell hundreds of millions of dollars at Cutco, and hundreds of thousands or over 1 million sales reps, that success formula that you've been given, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Your success is inevitable as long as you follow it. Will there be tough days? Yeah. Will there be bad weeks? Absolutely. I've had weeks that made me cry where I'm like, oh my gosh, I worked really hard this week and it didn't work out the way that I wanted. But I'll tell you a lesson I learned from a former Cutco rep, Marvin Cheek, he was a Hall of Famer. And Marvin taught us that he said, as long as you follow the approach, the vector approach, he said, you can have a bad day. You can even have a bad week. He said, shoot, in my career, he had sold Cutco for I think over 10 or 20 years at that point. He said, I've strung together a few tough weeks. He said, but I've never had a bad month. As long as I continued to follow the approach and make my phone calls, I've never had a bad month. And I found that in my 6-year Cutco career, I had a bad week, even a bad couple of weeks, but nothing ever, as long as I continued, I always learned from those challenging weeks and I grew. And that's another lesson for all of us, is that adversity and your challenges are always an opportunity for you to learn, to grow, and become better than you've ever been before. All right, that's the first lesson for you, the first couple of lessons to share. Number one is if you follow the vector approach, you can't fail. Your success is inevitable. It's only a matter of time. Number two, when things don't go as planned, right, when you have challenges, when you face adversity, when you have some no sales or some no shows or a bad day on the phone, right, you don't let that throw you off course. Realize that that's also part of the process of succeeding. Everyone that succeeds at a high level has to go through ups and downs, peaks and valleys, failures and setbacks and successes on the journey. It's all part of the process. Now, a year and a half into my Cutco career, I faced my greatest adversity. What would have probably been an excuse for anybody to give up. And I was driving home from a Cutco division meeting, and my car was hit head-on by a drunk driver at 70 miles per hour. I spun off the drunk driver, and the car behind me crashed into my door at 70 miles per hour, and the left side of my car crushed the left side of my body. I broke 11 bones. I bled to death. I was clinically dead at the scene of the accident for 6 minutes. Rushed to the hospital, spent 6 days in a coma, came out of the coma, was told I would never walk again, and that I had permanent brain damage. Well, I told the doctors, look, you might be experts in medicine, but you're not experts in me, and I plan on walking again. I said, if I never walk again, I'm at peace with that. I told them I will be the happiest person you've ever met in a wheelchair, but I said, I'm committed to walking again. And I'm going to focus all my energy not on what I'm afraid of, but on what I want. And so often we focus on our fears, especially if you didn't have the push period that you just wanted. Maybe you have this fear and self-doubt in your head like, oh my gosh, so-and-so had a great push period. Mine didn't go as well as I wanted. And now you have this fear and this self-doubt. Maybe I'm not able to sell Cutco as well as I thought. Maybe this isn't for me. Maybe the worst thought that I had plenty of times, maybe I should go get an easy job that doesn't stretch me, where I just show up and get a paycheck and it's just easy, right? Which it doesn't cause you to grow very much either, of course. And so for me, I woke up from the coma, and it's the same lesson I taught you. We can't change the things that are out of our control. The only thing we can change choose is our response. How are we going to respond to the challenges and adversities in our life? And I decided I want to walk again, so I'm going to focus on that. Well, 3 weeks later, I took my first step, and 4 weeks after that, they told me I was about to get out of the hospital. I got the news, you're going to go home. And I was using a walker and a wheelchair, but I was able to go home. And there was a push period that was starting a week after I got out of the hospital. And I decided I wanted to win a trophy for this push period. And I came out of the hospital. My dad had to drive me to my appointments because I couldn't drive. I had brain damage, so I forgot. Luckily, I had the training manual to read because I literally, even though I had sold Cutco for a year and a half, I couldn't remember it. I had to read my training manual, go back to the basics, and Dad drove me to the appointments. And in that push period, I sold $7,000 and was able to win a trophy. And I share that story with you because if I could do it, you could do it. Meaning that car accident, the fact that I had permanent brain damage, I couldn't remember anything, I couldn't walk, that was every excuse to not get on the phone and not schedule appointments. And we always, by the way, we always have excuses. Every human being on the planet has a list of excuses that you can use as justification as to why you're not going to fulfill your potential. And then you have a list of reasons why it's important. and why for you to become the person that you need to be to create the success that you want in every other area of your life, the opportunity that you are faced with now, that you've been given, this vector opportunity, that's the greatest opportunity. It's an opportunity to fulfill your potential with vector and develop the qualities, the characteristics, and the skills that will enable you to fulfill your potential and achieve everything else that you want in your life. Now, I want to dive into the secret to Cutco's success. I believe, actually, there's a couple of these, 2 to 3. We'll see where we end up. These are the not so obvious secrets to Cutco success, and you find that just like everything, these are the secrets of success in life because, again, vector is a microcosm for your entire life and everything else that you want to do. Number one, I've already shared with you, so I'm just going to echo this. See the vector opportunity as your training for success in life. And I want to share a very important, I don't know if it's a story, but an example. I've got quite a few friends that sold Cutco. I mean, dozens of friends that sold Cutco. And I've got about a handful, maybe a little less, 4 or 5, that quit selling Cutco when it didn't go well. They quit selling Cutco because they weren't having the results that they wanted, or they listened to outside influences like their parents nagging them out, or friends, speaking negatively, whatever it was. For whatever reason, they quit when it got difficult. When things weren't going as well as they hoped or wanted, rather than them double down and work even harder, they quit. I've got a handful of friends that quit. And the majority of my friends, I've got dozens of friends that continued with Vector and sold tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars of Cutco, that ran branch offices, that became assistant managers, sales managers, and for me, I ran a branch. I was the sales manager for our division office, so I went into management as well. But the point is this. All of my friends who stuck with Vector and used it the way I'm talking about as the ultimate success training for life, not just Cutco sales, but for life. Those individuals are very successful in everything else they do. Some of them are still selling Cutco, like John Rulin, for example, is still selling Cutco, and he sold millions of dollars. Josh Mueller is selling Cutco still, and he sold millions of dollars. And then I have my friend Matt Recor, who left, I should have just said Matt, but anyway, my friend Matt, who did really well. He became an FSM. He was an assistant manager in his district office. He really used the Vector experience for all that it was worth, right? And now he's earned millions and millions and millions of dollars. My other friend Ramasio, same thing. He broke the fast start record. He stuck with Cutco, and he went on to become a multimillionaire. The point is this. My friends, those handful of friends that quit selling Cutco, sad to say, they're struggling in life to this day, and it's been 15 plus years since they sold Cutco for a short time, maybe a few weeks or months or a summer, and then they quit because it was difficult. They encountered obstacles, and because they didn't develop the resiliency and the discipline and all of the qualities and characteristics that the Vector opportunity was presenting to them that they could have developed, but they quit because it wasn't going as perfectly and easily as planned. They're now struggling in life. They're still struggling financially. They're struggling in their career. They're usually bouncing from job to job to job. And to me, that proves the point that I opened up with and that I just shared, which is the Vector opportunity is your ultimate success training in life. And I don't want to offend anyone, but if you can't succeed at Cutco, if Cutco is too difficult and you just want to go the easy route, do something easier, what makes you think that you'll be able to succeed in the next venture? Because Cutco is just a microcosm for life. Again, life presents challenges. How do you deal with them? When things get difficult, like my first day, when I felt like quitting, do you just do what you feel like? Or do you do what's right, what you've committed to, what is in your best interest, what will take you to the next level so that you can take your success to the next level? And I want to transition into what may be the most important Cutco sales strategy that I've ever learned. This to me was the secret to Cutco success. It made my success easier than it had ever been. It happened a few months after my car accident. I decided that I wanted to have my first ever $100,000 year with Cutco. I was 20 years old, maybe 20 years old, and I wanted my first $100,000 year with Cutco. And so it was January, and I worked and worked and worked and worked and worked, and I wasn't having the results that I wanted. And I was in mid-January, and I remember I got on the phone, and I committed to make 20 phone calls. I made my phone calls, and I scheduled 0 appointments. And I had a woman who, at the end, my last call, she said, don't call me again, and she hung up on me. And I don't know if you've had that happen, but it doesn't feel good, right? It doesn't feel good. And so I had one of those moments where I thought, man, I don't like the way that this feels. I just made 20 calls. I didn't schedule any appointments. So maybe I'll go get an easy job, like a regular job, right? I was having those thoughts. And what ended up happening, as I was falling asleep that night, I had an epiphany. You ever have those where you're falling asleep, you're trying to fall asleep, but your mind's racing, and sometimes you have a great idea and you wake up and write it down. So I had one of those moments, and I woke up, I turned the light on, and I realized I am emotionally attached to my results. And that's human nature, by the way, for all of us. When I have good results, I feel good. When you have good results, you feel good. That's natural. I thought when I have bad results, I don't feel good. When you have bad results, you don't feel good. Such as that night on the phone when I scheduled 0 appointments out of 20 phone calls, I didn't feel good. And I had this realization. I thought, at the end of the year, how much Cutco I sell will not be based on how any individual day went, or even how any individual week went. Ultimately, it will be based on the number of phone calls that I made over the course of the year. So think about that for you. How much Cutco you sell over the course of any given week, month, the summer, the rest of the year is based on how many times you pick up the phone and dial the 7 numbers. And what I realized is that I was emotionally attached to my results, and that emotional attachment affected my level of commitment to the process, which was making the phone calls. See, every result that we want in life is preceded by a process. If you want to lose weight, you have to commit to a process of exercising and eating right. If you want to build muscle, right, you have to commit to a process of eating probably more calories, and lifting weights and that sort of thing. Every result that we want in our life is preceded by a process. Well, in Cutco, the results that we want, of course, are to sell Cutco. And the process is the phone calls that we make. And the number of calls we make determines how much we sell over the average, right? Over the course of weeks, months, and the year. And so I realized at the end of this year, if I make X number of phone calls, we're going to do a little math real quick. Follow me. If you make X number of phone calls over the course of the next few months, you will sell X number of Cutco. If you were to make twice as many phone calls, let's say you went from 10 calls a day to 20 calls a day, you would sell twice as much Cutco. The point is this: how many times you pick up your phone and dial a prospect determines how much Cutco that you sell. Now, this might be sounding simple, but it's supposed to sound simple, but it'll get profound here in a moment when you realize how this can change your experience selling Cutco. Here's what I did. I decided I'm going to commit to my process of making 20 phone calls a day, a minimum of 5 days a week. That's my minimum. Minimum of 20 calls a day, 5 days a week. And of course, I can make more. If I want to make 30 calls in a day or make calls 6 or 7 days a week because it's a push period or because I'm not on track for the weekly goal, whatever it is, I can do more. But I decided I'm going to create a floor, and I will commit, and I gave my word to my manager. I will make 20 calls a day, 5 days a week, minimum, no matter what. And here was the secret to success, and here is the secret to success. I will be committed to the process without being emotionally attached to my results. And this is worth writing down. If you grab a pen if you don't have one. I will commit to my process of making blank phone calls per day, and I will not be emotionally attached to my results. And here's how that looked. Remember, this was January. So I started making 20 calls a day, no matter what. No, it didn't matter. If I didn't feel like it, didn't matter. I didn't have to be motivated. I just picked up the phone. And that was, by the way, another trick is to act your way into feeling. Don't think yourself out of getting on the phone. Just decide what time you're going to make your calls. And it's best to I like to make half of them in the morning, especially when people are on quarantine. You can make them anytime during the day, right? If that's, being what's going on relevant to this current event. But for me, I would make my calls in the morning and then in the evening. I'd make half in the morning, 10 in the morning throughout the day. And ultimately, here's what happened. Some days I scheduled none, but ultimately, I made my 20 calls no matter what. And after I made my 20 calls, it didn't matter how they went because I was committed to the process of making calls, but not emotionally attached to the results. So what that meant was when I made the 20 calls, I could pat myself on the back and I was off work. I could go do whatever I wanted to. And I wasn't emotionally attached. In the past, if I didn't set any appointments, I would feel really bad and I would be discouraged. But with this new strategy, I went, no, it doesn't matter how a day's phone call session goes because I'm in it for the long haul. I'm in it for the summer. I'm in it for the rest of the year. So I'm going to make my 20 calls a day my process, and I'm not going to be emotionally attached to the results. And here's what happened. Week after week after week, I made 20 calls a day, 5 days a week minimum, and some weeks I sold $2,000. Some weeks I sold $1,000. Some weeks I sold $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. But it always averaged out. And this is the best part. At the end of the 4 months, actually, there's two best parts. First of all, at the end of the 4 months, I was the #1 sales rep in the entire company. And I wasn't stressed out. That's the best part. The best part of this is I didn't ride the emotional roller coaster where good days and I felt good, bad days and I felt bad, a couple bad days and I started to question if I should even keep selling Cutco. No, as long as I made 20 calls a day, 5 days a week, I reached my commitment. That was my process that I was committed to. And by not being emotionally attached to the results and not worrying how a day went, oh, today I sold nothing on my 3 appointments. Okay, it doesn't matter. I'll make my 20 calls today or tomorrow, every single day. And everything always worked out. And at the end of the campaign, I was the #1 sales rep in Cutco. I had sold $40,000, I think, for the spring, while everybody was in school. And the best part was I had the easiest job in the world. My job was no longer stressful, riding this emotional roller coaster. It was simply a matter of making 20 calls a day, 5 days a week, and letting the averages work themselves out. So I encourage you to implement that because I believe it is the secret to success in selling Cutco and the secret to success in life. In fact, my newest book, The Miracle, where is it at? The Miracle Equation, right there. That's an entire chapter. Talks about that secret to success, to be committed to the process without being emotionally attached to the results. You've been given a process that is proven, and as long as you implement that process, your success is inevitable. You cannot fail. And remember, the vector opportunity, making money, yeah, that's part of it. Right? This is a job. Making money, supporting yourself, all of the things, achieving different milestones, those are all important. But the true opportunity is for you to become the person that you need to be to create the success that you want in every area of your life for the rest of your life. In other words, use the vector opportunity to develop the qualities, characteristics, and skills that you need to succeed. The resiliency, the discipline, the enthusiasm, all of those things. And I can tell you, I am so blessed. Everything that I have in my life, all of the books that I've written, everything I have, all of the success I've achieved, all of my dreams, I can humbly say I'm living the life of my dreams, and I can proudly say it's from the vector opportunity. It's because I utilized my experience selling Cutco to become the best version of myself, to become the person that I needed to be to create the success I wanted in my life. And I wish the same for you. You deserve nothing less. Use the vector opportunity to become the person that you need to be to create everything that you want for your life because it's in you, it's available to you, and I encourage you to make it happen. I'll talk to you next time, everybody. Take care.